Joining us now is Kostis Geropoulos, Director of Energy and Climate at NE Global Media, to look at what the UAE's decision to leave OPEC could mean for oil markets and the wider political balance in the Gulf. Kostis, always great to speak to you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. UAE leaving OPEC then, how big a moment is this, and what actually changes now?
Well, Guy, it's really a big moment in the sense that the UAE has been a member for over 60 years, and it's been a major oil and gas producer in the region. However, now the UAE is looking at its evolution of its energy sector. I think that it's also seeing forward in its long-term strategy. And at this point, and especially after the latest developments in the Strait of Hormuz and the situation in the Middle East, I think this is kind of a decision long time coming. Also, the UAE has not been very happy with the reaction from its other OPEC members, especially Saudi Arabia. I think that it has seen that it hasn't gotten the support that it needed, and especially after the latest actions have damaged its energy sector, and it doesn't want to be constrained by OPEC and its decisions on production quotas. I mean, I think that it want to take this time to restore its energy sector, and it wants to um, uh, plan its own marketing strategy without playing essentially second fiddle to Saudi Arabia. And in this case, I think that that's it's not. I mean, it has been discussed before, but I think this time the time has come. And if you look at yes, I can.
And do you think, Kostas, that this is ultimately about production freedom? You know, Abu Dhabi spent years building up capacity. Is that something they've been thinking about for years, that they really just want to kind of pump on their own terms, so to speak? And this crisis has now given them the catalyst to take that action?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the market fundamentals have changed. So they don't want to be restricted by Saudi Arabia, and they also the other OPEC members, and they want to produce and make their own deals. I mean, I saw today that they've been already talking to Qatar, and the minister has been discussing bilateral agreements and the future of of production deals. So I think this is this is has it meets the UAE's goals, and maybe it's signaling the end of OPEC as we know it. As it's definitely a blow to the cartel.
During the drone strikes in the UAE and of course in Qatar, Bahrain, other countries, we spoke to a number of business leaders, residents there, and people were understandably really shaken up by what was taking place. Do you think that some of this is also about a political positioning, a way of trying to ensure that that sort of thing just can't happen again?
Yes, and I mean there have been tensions with Saudi Arabia as well, politically, and with bin Salman, and I think the UAE and Saudi Arabia have different kind of seen a different kind of strategy to the in terms of geopolitically, and I mean with the situation in Sudan and in the area, I think that they have different kind of policies. I think, and also I saw in your report earlier that you mentioned Moscow. I mean, I think that I mean, Russia at this point is producing close to capacity, and it's kind of even back in 2016 with shale gas, it really needed OPEC. But I think at this stage now, even though they made statements saying they support OPEC, I think they also will stand with the UAE in terms of future policies and alliances.
Mm.
And also across the Atlantic, I think that's also music to the ears to President Donald Trump, who essentially, I mean, he when he addressed OPEC in the as a cartel, I mean, essentially, he doesn't look. I mean, their policy of trying to drive up prices. I mean, that's something that was not welcome in the U.S. and by the current administration. So I think that at this point, OPEC is losing the power that it used to have.
And Saudi Arabia, as we all know, has long been at the center of Gulf oil policy. Do you think that the UAE is now making much more of an overt competitive challenge to that leadership? And how far do you think that competition could escalate?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The UAE had it playing second fiddle to Saudi Arabia and bin Salman. So essentially, Saudi Arabia was kind of dictating its own policy, and the other OPEC members were following. Also, don't forget that we have OPEC Plus. So OPEC, has been including other producers as well. So which have been you know following the OPEC's decision, but on the other hand, it's been more of a broader alliance.
Mm.
So in this case, the UAE will have more freedom to pursue individual deals and essentially, look at the market fundamentals and dictate its own policy. And we've seen that also from Al Jaber, from the, even in terms of renewable energy policy. I mean, the UAE is following a very much active, even though it's a major hydrocarbon producer, it's also a major player, and Masdar is also in renewables. So it doesn't see OPEC as a major just it doesn't want to be constrained in anyone is dictate its own policy in oil and gas, and also do its own policy in renewables. So I mean, the OPEC is just focusing so much on oil price and in terms of the revenues, that it doesn't take into consideration as much the individual needs of the countries. So I think in this case, UAE can be a leader, and maybe other countries will follow.
And Kostis, do you see this decision as purely an Emirati calculation, or do you think possibly there could have been external influences, perhaps, if not influence, then perhaps encouragement from some of the bigger actors, China, the US, others behind the scenes?
I think that I mean, definitely they have taken into consideration. I don't think they just this decision came out of the blue. I think that they have tested the waters, and I think that they probably have talking to their counterparts. So once this announcement came, I mean, because it's like May 1st, right? I mean, it's like at the end of the week they're going to be out. So clearly they have already arranged, and we saw, as I mentioned earlier, we saw that the meeting between the Qatar and the UAE. I don't think that was chance. I mean, it was today. It was like one day after the announcement, and as you mentioned, I mean, the U.S. and China. I mean, the China wants, you know, they're looking further after once the strait opens. They want to be exporting as much as they can to Asia and to the other markets, and not be constrained by OPEC.
Kostis, we always appreciate your analysis on Prime Time. Thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight.
Thank you.